What advantages do customers see when migrating from a legacy backbone to a packet networking solution? So Jim, can you kind of go through that piece for us?
Yeah, sure, Ryan. Be happy to. Jim Westorp here. I'm the technologist for Ciena Government Solutions, and particularly in the DoD and government space, we see quite a bit of applications where there's existing TDM, time division multiplexing, so older protocols that are in the network for very good reason, but where the network needs to be updated and modernized. And the challenges with TDM in particular are that because it's older, it's difficult to manage. There's a lot of in many cases there are multiple networks that need to be converged, and it's still fairly difficult to support as a result of that because there's a number of things that are discontinued. There are not that many people who understand how to use it anymore. And in terms of your basic question about packet networking advantages, there really are several. First and foremost is that there's substantially better performance in modern networks. The older TDM networks, Sonnet, SDH, which were state of the art in the 90s, those were hundreds of megabits to maybe a couple, 2.4, 2.5 gigabits per second. And really in mainline core and even metro networks now, base rate is 10 gig and moving to 100 gig. Modern core networks are now pushing 400 and will soon to be over a terabit. So considerably enhanced and much better performance is available today than what was available in the earlier days. And that gives you much more capacity to grow. It gives you the ability to support future missions and future applications. And because of the flexibility of the modern networks and the modern network management systems, along with the greater capacity, you get better user satisfaction. And you actually with the modern packet-based networks, you can carry both TDM and packet services together. So you can consolidate your networks onto single network infrastructure and do all of that with reduced total cost of ownership and better OpEx. You're really getting reliability as well. You're getting continuity of service, better disaster recovery, and actually a significant amount of incremental flexibility than you had before. Plus, because packet-based networks are pretty much the basis of all modern networks, there's a very, very rich tool set that's available to monitor the state of your network. And the network itself now is much more amenable to automation and software-defined networking. And, in terms of additional services, actually, if you think of almost any use for the wide area network for internet today, video, real-time controls, high-speed email, and conferencing, and sensor data distribution, all of these things are pretty much part of modern networks. And those are things that you can support once you've modernized your network to support the Ethernet capabilities that you would have had a very, very difficult time doing had you stayed in the TDM service land, if you will, which really stopped evolving 20 years ago.
Brian, what are the challenges we faced, on the customer side going through these migrations as we've gone through a bunch of these large cycles to completion and outcomes? What kind of things have we learned to go over the process to make it a little bit smoother across the board for the migration and implementation?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the challenges they face up front. They have network congestion, and they can't expand bandwidth. The mission is growing all the time. Requirements for additional bandwidth, additional circuits occur almost daily. All the networks that they have today are failure prone and suffer from a lack of redundancy. But that affects mission effectiveness and negatively affects posture for the sites to be able to perform their mission. One of the big things that we have is identifying every single service that is being provided by in-place networks and determining whether they're at the end of their life cycle and unsupportable. In many cases, users have become accustomed to a less than stellar network performance on their existing networks. And we have to shake the trees to identify all the services they are supporting today. On every single project we have worked and are working now, from large program office network requirements to just simple add and drop circuits across the base, customers find issues that they were never aware of. One of the things that Jim said before was which services do we migrate in an as-is state, stay TDM, or which can be migrated to an Ethernet-supported service. Establishing and understanding just which services are able to be changed, perhaps changing endpoints and moving to an Ethernet packet-based transport helps with the overall migration efforts. There are some things that definitely have to stay TDM, and we keep those. But if we can help them migrate not only their network, but the endpoints as well, it's very helpful.
I guess what I would like to have folks take away, we've talked a lot about the advantages and the steps that are necessary to go through a successful migration. But Ciena and our teammates like Conversion, we've done this a number of different times, and this is not the first time through. So we've got a certain pedigree behind us, and a fair bit of experience, and that translates into very good success metrics that we've had. Here we're looking at tier 1 and tier 2 carriers as opposed to DoD, but we've done both sides, obviously. And in the first case that we talked about here, we've had customers who've tried to do migrations like this and have had difficulty and had to back off. And we've been able to come in with the process that we've talked about and help them do fairly substantial migrations. The first one was, 23 something odd over OC48 services, a number of different digital cross connects or DACs, and compared to where the customer was originally, we were able to do it probably half again as quickly. In another case, we were able to get efficiencies in terms of costs and both the direct and operating costs of around 40% compared to where a customer was before in terms of operating their network. And in many cases, because of the upfront planning that we're talking about being so important, we're able to set a plan, execute against that plan, and get in and out in the time scale and for the budget that we said we've been able to. So I guess the takeaway I'd like to leave folks with is there's a number of benefits here, which we've talked about, and this team is able to allow you to plan and execute and reap the benefits of those improvements of TDM upgrade by the process that we've talked about, and we're looking forward to helping you do that.
All right, great. And Brian, do you have any kind of closing remarks that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I do. We've done probably, over the last 3 years, we've probably done 15 base projects with Ciena. And we find all kinds of different networks, all kinds of different requirements for circuits, from large bandwidth, little P1 tiny circuits. One thing we've been able to do is we've been able to consolidate and support just about any type of network that we've ran into. We've yet to find one that we haven't been able to support. We're finding out that our customers are quite happy when we're done, and they're able to pretty much run the system themselves with very little support needed because of the ease in which the MCP product is able to support them. All in all, a great set of products.
Kind of sounds like customers that we have that are on that TDM side, are they looking at this this would be kind of a nice thing to do to go move to a packet network solution-based solution set? They need to. When are they going to do it so they can actually move forward with their mission and support their mission correctly? So really excited to be, part of the Ciena solution set, providing to our customer base. It's a great thing, a lot of advantages. Julian, I think we talked about a lot of good stuff here. So I'm going to...
I want to thank Brian and Jim and Ryan, as always, for joining us today. And I want to encourage everyone to check out the description below. We'll have information for how you can contact C1 Government Solutions and engage Ciena for these kinds of projects. Also, subscribe to the channel because we have a lot more information like this posted before and that we'll be posting in the future. And also a link to the podcast where Ryan and I talk about trends in government technologies every week, and sometimes have the pleasure of being joined by partners such as Jim to talk about such things. So thanks everybody for your time today. Jim and Brian again, and Ryan as always, and we'll see everybody soon.
Sure, Julian. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
That was excellent.